is to really address us on three basic questions which are very simple. And I don't think any one of us should really shy away from responding to those questions, because we have a freedom of expression as far as this house is concerned. Our object while addressing those questions has to be twofold. The first has to be that India must get a strong and effective Lokpal, and the second is that the current political impasse must get over, and Shri Anna Hazare should be requested and persuaded to give up his fast thereafter. Whether all employees of the central government should be covered by Lokpal or should be split into two, I think it's a procedural matter. It's not such a major matter that it can break our options to a breaking point. The fact that all employees and all public servants must be accountable, when we want even the Prime Minister of this country to be accountable, why must we really say that somebody within the government, who, because he's a junior employee, should not be accountable? Now, what that accounting mechanism is, you have various options. We have said that please bring them within Lokpal. Some other civil society groups, I got some papers from them, have suggested, if you want a vigilance mechanism, put him under administrative control of the Lokpal. They have suggested an alternative mechanism yesterday. Now, various kinds of flexibilities are available to you, but the overall overarching supervision of the Lokpal would remain with regard to all employees of the central government, and we think there is considerable merit in accepting that suggestion. With regard to the option of Lokayukt institution in the states, I have already said that if you find that some areas are not within the domain of the central legislature, you can have an enabling law and leave it to the option to the states. The last question is, do we need a grievance redressal mechanism? Sir, we certainly do need a grievance redressal mechanism. आम आदमी की जो शिकायत होती है कि मैंने राशन कार्ड की दरखास्त दी और मुझे 6 महीने से नहीं मिला, ट्रांसपोर्ट डिपार्टमेंट में जाता हूं तो मुझे तकलीफ होती है। अब कई राज्य सरकारें ऐसी है, मध्य प्रदेश ने किया है, बिहार ने किया है, मैंने उस दिन सतीश जी कह रहे थे कि उत्तर प्रदेश ने शुरू किया है, पंजाब ने शुरू किया है, कि कई राज्यों ने सिटीजन्स चार्टर और ग्रीवियंसेस से निपटने के लिए कानून बनाने आरंभ कर दिए हैं। और अगर कोई अधिकारी उस चार्टर का उल्लंघन करता है तो उसको किस प्रकार की पेनल्टी लग सकती है, यह भी उस कानून के अंदर लिखा हुआ है। मैं मानता हूं कि एक के बाद एक राज्य बना रहे हैं, और इसलिए अगर केंद्र भी इस पे सोचे तो ये तो एक प्रशासन की दृष्टि से अच्छा कदम होगा। इट विल बी अ गुड स्टेप टू से दैट एवरी डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट हैज अ चार्टर, दिस इज हाउ grievances of citizens are to be addressed. That if somebody applies for a ration card or a license or some other permission, 15 days or 30 days should be the period under which it should be disposed of, and if somebody doesn't dispose of his application, then he'll be taken to task for it. It will, if at all, improve the quality of administration and governance. There is no reason why it can become a politically adversarial group amongst any one of us or between us and members of the civil society who are suggesting it. It's a step towards good governance, and we must really come out with a procedure which is fair and which appears to be effective. Sir, there are many small issues, other issues which have been raised. Government in principle has accepted. In fact, Mrs. Jayanti Natarajan, headed the standing committee, recommended the whistleblowers protection. They want whistleblowers under the Lokayukt or the Lokpal Act also to be given a protection. I don't think in principle there can be any difficulty as far as this factor is concerned. There is a grievance that punishment to complainants is very harsh. अगर किसी के खिलाफ कोई शिकायत डालता है और वो भ्रष्ट होता है और उसको सजा हो जाती है, उसकी सजा कम है, लेकिन कंप्लेंट गलत निकलेगी उसकी सजा ज्यादा है। अब ये तो जो लोग कह रहे हैं उनकी बात जायज है, और मुझे लगता है कि ये एक कहीं ना कहीं ओवरसाइट हुई है इस कानून को बनाने में, जिसके ऊपर दोबारा हम लोगों को सोचना चाहिए। सर, एक विषय, देयर इज वन सब्जेक्ट वेयर आई वांट टू sound a little discordant note. We are creating an institution where we say the Prime Minister should be included, every Chief Minister should be there, every Minister should be there, and MPs, Secretaries, Government of India, Cabinet Secretary will be covered by this law. We are now, there is a suggestion that the authority will be entitled to keep taping phones of these people if it receives a complaint. I think in the last few years, we are making a mockery out of our democracy by really making phone tapping in this country to be virtuous. How can somebody tap the Prime Minister's phone? The argument is that it will be being tapped because there may be evidence of bribery. Well, there are thousands of conversations ministers and Home Minister may be having, the Finance Minister may be having, the Prime Minister may be having, Chief Ministers may be having. He may be discussing something with the Secretary of the RAW. He may be discussing something with the Director of IB. He may be discussing something with regard to other serious matters with regard to the Army Chief or the Foreign Secretary. Are we going to create institutions which are now entitled to start taping phones of even Prime Ministers and Ministers and other senior functionaries? We have a judgment of the Supreme Court, which is a very well considered judgment. We have provisions in the Indian Telegraph Act which say that only to the extent it involves national security or it involves prevention of commission of some serious offense that you can do it. I think this power should be exercised with great caution, because in the process of creating an anti-graft institution, we should not compromise with any tenets of Indian democracy, which allows institutions to start interfering to this effect. When members of the civil society met us, I conveyed to them that this is one area where I would beg to disagree with them, even while supporting them on most other areas that they have said, and they must seriously reconsider a proposal where an authority which covers the Prime Minister and other senior functionaries of the state is now entitled to start bugging their telephones. We can't make a virtue out of this, and this is one area where I'm sure the drafting committee will make a serious issue. Finally, sir, just 2 points. You have asked us on these 3 specific questions in order to resolve the impasse. I think there is considerable merit in including the entire bureaucracy. There is considerable merit either enabling or otherwise, subject to the legal advice you get, going ahead with establishment of Lokayukt in the states. And there is also considerable merit. In fact, there is far greater merit in having a grievance charter or a mechanism as far as the country is concerned. Finally, sir, one great strength of Indian democracy is that we have protests, we have crises, we have confrontations, but then we also have a great sense of resilience. And we show an extraordinary amount of maturity in resolving every crisis and emerging stronger out of any crisis. I am sure that today would be a very important day for us when we show that and display that sense of resilience and are able to resolve these issues which are confronting us. Thank you very much.